This is Joy News Prime, available across Europe on London-based ABN Television. My name is Israel Lai. In this edition, Julius Debra in Prosper Bani out as Chief of Staff in shake-up at the Flagstaff House. Political pundits suggest a reconstitution of the president's closest advisors to appease ruling party stalwarts ahead of the 2016 election. 1,181 JHS school leavers get another chance to make their way back onto the academic ladder with another shot at the basic education certificate exams as private candidates. Police administration apologized for assault on multimedia journalists for filming scuffle between uniformed police officers and truck driver. Fire destroys a section of drug information unit at main Kolebu pharmacy. And Ghana franchise of American fast food chain KFC and others in trouble with tax authorities over their failure to pay tourism levy. We also have business, sports, and international news all coming up in the next 60 minutes. To stay tuned. Now, very first story, hundreds of junior high school leavers who almost abandoned their educational pursuits today started a process that could see them picking up from where they left off, having been given a chance to resit the basic education certificate exams all over again. The system until now had virtually written off those whose grades could not see them through to the senior high school level. But that's all changed now.
They had a first shot at it some years ago, but failed either all or some of the papers. To them, the academic pursuits had come to a grinding halt as there was no other way they could progress to second cycle institutions. Some of them had to look for some other means to survive, mainly by doing menial jobs. But these students have had their smiles back on their faces thanks to the opportunity given them by the Ghana Education Service and the West African Exams Council. 1,181 students across the length and breadth of the country are rewriting field papers in mathematics, English, and 7 other papers. For them, this opportunity has come in handy.
No, I wrote in 2009, but my results wasn't good. When I heard that they've started register online, this thing, so I rushed and take part.
So after 2009, what did you do? You didn't have access to education again. What did you do?
Let me say it has affected me a lot. I've been taking my results to any school, but it seems my results wasn't good. It wasn't enough. So they couldn't accept me, so I was just working a little bit.
I got 25.
So you want to take a shot at this and then get to the senior high school?
Yeah, for sure.
So which senior high schools did you choose?
Actually, now it's a private one. So they will not tell you now. Until the results come, then they will see your grade and give you the school.
I think 2011.
2011?
Yeah.
But you didn't like your aggregate?
Yeah, it's not good at all. Because it's like, the last one I wrote, the other one I wrote is like, I didn't do well, but I think this one, it's good enough. It's okay. Yeah.
The national head of the West African Exams Council, Very Reverend Sam Ningmai Olenu, tells Joy News, anyone 16 years or above can take advantage of this opportunity to resuscitate his or her education. He says the age is pegged at 16 years to prevent students who are yet to complete the syllabus from registering for the exam.
You know, previously the candidates were supposed to go back to their former schools and then resit, you know, with their former schools, and in that arrangement they were also supposed to use their old continual assessment, and that wasn't favoring them in the sense that some of the students feel very embarrassed going back to their schools, you know, to go and sit with their genius, so they were not going. And we thought that it was a dangerous situation. I mean, it wasn't good for the advancement of the country. And that was why we brought this option. in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. For so far as the boys and the girls' relations are concerned, for the total, the boys are 717 and the females are 464. For if you are a receiver, we'll ask you for your previous index. The girls' relations are concerned, for the total, the boys are 717 and the females are 464. For if you are a receiver, we'll ask number and then the year that you took the exam.
The private candidate's BEC will be written in February every year. There are, however, some unresolved issues with this second chance. Unlike the regular BEC candidates who choose their preferred senior high schools before they sit for the exams and get placed based on their performance, these private candidates have not made any such choices, and in the absence of how they can be placed in these schools, they may still end up on the fringes. But the national head of the West African Examinations Council says these issues will be resolved somehow.
When we release the results in May, the CSPS, Secretariat will take it up from there and then know how to incorporate them into the system and then add them on to those that are going to take in June and then complete their selection process.
Derek Ekosam for Joy News.
Now, the Ghana Police Service has rendered an unqualified apology to two multimedia journalists for the assault and brutalities they suffered at the hands of two police officers at the St. Ferry site over the weekend. Cameraman David McCarthy, who tried to film a scuffle between the police and a trailer driver on the ferry, was slapped by two officers, whilst multimedia journalist Matilda Buamaga was shoved aside and dragged off the ferry when she tried to intervene. Public Relations Officer for the Ghana Police Service, DSP Cephas Arthur, in a statement read on behalf of the Inspector General of Police, indicated that the service will conduct a full-scale investigation into the matter and take appropriate sanctions against the two police officers where necessary.
Not happy about the aspect that says that the police attacked journalists. We don't work attacking people. We work in partnership with our stakeholders. So anything that puts some blood on our image, like police officers attacking members of the public, let alone members of the media, is an issue of concern for the police administration. So I decided to pass here. The IGP and the police administration are concerned about it. They want to take action. But in the first place, they want to investigate to know exactly what happened. So I've met with Madam Emma Morrison, and we are trashing the issue out. We are picking pieces of evidence for the study of the administration, and I can assure you that whoever is involved will deal with accordingly.
How do we take it cool when two of our people were attacked right now? It's not just them.
I don't think you
the entire newsroom is scared of carrying out stories now, because then we fear for our safety. Stories that would demand certain questions from certain people. Because if the police itself is not afraid, is not concerned enough not to attack journalists, and is able to do that, what will the ordinary person do? What do we do with our men, our two journalists who are hurt now?
You think the police are not afraid to attack journalists? You think the police are not afraid to do things that are non-professional? That is not true. You know about certain stories that the police administration has been taking of late. I hope you have heard about the public confidence reaffirmation program. I think you saw what we call a Times story of last Monday, which published 69 police officers interdicted. So it is, our records are replete with police officers who are punished for one misconduct or the other. So it is not a matter that the police are not afraid of attacking media men, or they are not afraid of doing what is wrong. They are very much afraid of doing what is wrong. We know there are laws.
One would imagine.
If I would land on this, we know there are laws in the country which debars and deters. And the laws debar and they deter people from committing offenses. But offenses are committed.
One person is said to have sustained injuries in an attempt to escape from a fire that gutted 2 officers at the drug information unit at the main pharmacy of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. The cause of the fire at Accra's largest medical facility is still unknown, but reports suggest it was sparked by a faulty air conditioning unit in one of the offices.
The fire, which is said to have started around 1 p.m., burned 2 offices as well as a storeroom, a common room and some portions of a washroom, all on the first floor of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital's main pharmacy. One person, Raymond Tete, is said to have broken his arm when he jumped off the first floor of the building in an attempt to escape when the fire started. Regional Fire Commander of the Ghana National Fire Service, Samuel Nanabrinya, said his crew managed to put out the fire some 40 minutes after arriving.
We shall need to undertake some investigation. So immediately we cannot say for sure what actually caused the fire. By our time we shall be able to.
But coming in, what did you see? And what do you think is a possible reason for this thing?
Well,
looking at the extent of damage.
Yes, looking at the extent of damage, I would say the damage was not very extensive because of the prompt arrival of the fire service. Yes, but as to what actually caused the fire, it will still take us some time. Yes.
I see. And how long did it take you to actually battle this fire?
Close to about 40-45 minutes.
40-45 minutes.
Yes.
Public Relations Officer of the hospital, Mustafa Salifu, however, says the situation is not in any way going to affect the hospital's operations.
Now, this is the pharmacy, the 24-hour pharmacy. People are going in and out and they are being served, but it's within the same building. So we want to assure that it has not affected the services and operations of the hospital. Those who are billed to come to the hospital tomorrow to come, if there are any emergencies, they can still come to the hospital. As you can see, the department is running. They are just the offices that are affected, and then when we get the report, we'll then be able to say that, oh, looking at the extent of it, it will take us a month or 2 to be able to fix. So at the moment, you can't just stand now and immediately and then say that in a week you fix the place back.
The Drug Information Unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital serves as a research center and library for pharmacists of the hospital.
Elsewhere, Labour and Industrial Court in Accra struck out a counter-suit filed by 12 labour unions seeking to join the Bank of Ghana to an ongoing tussle with government over the management of their Tier 2 pension funds. Justice Anthony Yeboah, who read the ruling on behalf of Justice Said Jang, said the Bank of Ghana was an unnecessary party to the substantive case, hence the ruling. He added that the law clearly establishes the Bank of Ghana as the custodian of the pension funds, with no right as to how the funds are managed, with that power solely vested in the employer, which happens to be government. The 12 labour unions were hoping to join the Bank of Ghana to a suit filed by government seeking interpretation as to the role of all relevant parties in the management of the Tier 2 funds of workers. We're taking a break now, but we have more, including what's happening at the Flagstaff House, the seat of the president. We'll be back shortly. Two elderly men, Kofi Esson, 60, a farmer, and Nana Ahin Kofi, 70, unemployed, who allegedly took turns in defiling a 5-year-old kindergarten pupil at a fair near Takrady last December, have been arrested by the Takrady police. The two reportedly warned the innocent girl not to tell anybody of her ordeal after the act, else she would die. Some residents claimed Kofi Esson was first to defile the girl, after which Nana Ahin Kofi had a stern by placing the girl on his lap, leaving the girl bleeding from her private parts and the anus. The two, who were arrested last Thursday, February 12, 2015, were arraigned before the Takrady Circuit Court A, and their pleas were not taken. They were subsequently placed in police custody. The Director of the Family Health Division of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Abuaje, has attributed early sexual relations by adolescents to misinformation and/or unavailability of information on adolescent sexual reproductive health. Dr. Abuaje was speaking during the Brongahaf regional launch of the adolescent school health clubs at the Besim near Sunyani.
The worrying situation has caught the attention of all stakeholders to introduce programs aimed at addressing the issue. Dr. Patrick Abuaje said the Adolescent Health and Development Program of the Family Health Division of the Ghana Health Service, in partnership with the School Health Education Program of the Ghana Education Service, are implementing adolescent health activities in schools. These activities, he noted, are aimed at improving sexual and reproductive health of in-school adolescents. Dr. Patrick Abuaje further said Adolescents Corner have been created in some health facilities to provide health services tailored to the needs of the young people. He has therefore challenged young people to take advantage of the system to gain knowledge on sexuality. For his part, the Bonafo Regional Director of Education, Dr. George Ajehine, said the Adolescent School Health Club will have the necessary impact if it is well nurtured.
So issues on adolescents is dear to our hearts. Most of our indicators depend on how adolescents think, and therefore urge all stakeholders of education to endeavor to get the club established in every school in the country, with children between the ages of 8 and 14 who are out of school being brought back to school through the complementary basic education program. I believe the Adolescent School Health Club will have the necessary impact if it is nurtured and managed very well.
Director of Research at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Dr. Ali Kamel-Dean, and the General Coordinator of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College say it is important for governments in West Africa and other third world countries to be fully well vested in maritime affairs or the exclusive economic zone, which is a major factor for development. The two are speaking on Joy News' AM show today.
In the context of West Africa, let me put it this way, that when we were ushered into independence, one of the critical things that the governments in West Africa and across the third world had to do was to find a footing in maritime affairs. And that footing is what resulted in the exclusive economic zone. So actually, if you are looking at it from the point of view of the 60s and the 70s, the exclusive economic zone was seen as the impetus to development. You would hear during that time that we had a concept called the New World Economic Order. Within that gamut of the New World Economic Order, one of the fundamental things that was seen as necessary to drive third world countries, and especially countries in West Africa, was the exclusive economic zone. So it was something that was completely championed by African countries and other developing countries in Latin America, championed consistently for the period of about 10 to 12 years, and finally the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea was adopted in 1982 to reflect the demands of these third world countries, most of whom are from Africa. So this is actually something that is of fundamental importance to Africa, not just because it provides the opportunities, but it's because it's something that was actually fought for and brought on the international plane by African countries, most of them, of course, from West Africa.
Yes. Yeah, I would say that managing that zone is of vital importance, because
to all countries,
especially countries that have maritime boundaries, and for us in the training sphere, we need to build up the capacity of the trainees, that's the officer students, so that when they go out there, they will be able to contribute positively towards policy and management of the zone, because we train at the tactical and then operational level. So these are middle-level officers who are going out there to become senior officers who will be contributing to the national defense policy of each member state, not only Ghana, but other sister African countries. Yeah, like the doctor said, this training is centered on conventions and international law and others. So when we get students from all other African countries or African countries within our area or elsewhere, we all have the same type of exposure and then information. So when it comes to settling disputes, we are all aware of the conventions, and therefore it makes it much easier for us to understand how best to approach the issue, because we all know that this
in the context of West Africa.
Back on the local front, Joy News has learned the president is set to announce a new executive secretary on Tuesday, in line with an ongoing reshuffle of officers at the Flagstaff House. It follows Monday's appointment of Local Government and Rural Development Minister Julius Deborah as the new Chief of Staff, as well as a new National Security Advisor. The appointments are set to usher in a rejuvenated presidency, with its eyes set on recapturing power with the next presidential election just 2 years away. Presidential correspondent Gifty Ando-Apia in the following report explores some of the considerations that went into the selection and what is expected of the new appointees.
Deborah, the incoming Chief of Staff, is moving from the Ministry of Local Government, where he has been in charge and considered to have made significant impact, one of the reasons for which he was chosen over Deputy Chief of Staff Valerie Sawyer, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Hannah Tete, and Ghana's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Victor Smith. Julius Deborah emerged tops based on a criteria of selection which included delivery on current position, roots within the National Democratic Congress, his approachable persona, and most importantly, his effective organizational abilities. He has risen through the ranks as Eastern Regional Chairman of the party to become Greater Accra Regional Minister, Eastern Regional Minister, until his new appointment, the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development. The Minister for Local Government and Rural Development. With clear partisan links and seemingly less controversial political career, insider information suggests his choice went through without opposition. Julius Deborah was instrumental in institutionalizing the National Sanitation Day, albeit a young initiative that had the support of key leadership in sanitation-related activities. His new position takes immediate effect, though some paperwork has to be done to pave way for him to take charge at the Flagstaff House on his return from Kenya, where he is currently undertaking some official duties. One of the expectations of him in his new position is to bridge the yawning gap between key party operatives and the presidency, as well as ensuring harmony among those who work at or manage the presidency. He is expected to redeem the image of the presidency and mobilize the necessary goodwill for the NDC's victory come 2016. Joy News sources say acting head of the Local Government Institute, Callistus Mahama, and Northern Regional Minister Limuna Mohammed Muniru are key among those tipped to replace Julius Deborah at the Local Government Ministry. His deputy, Johnny Osei Kofi, is not a household party name, but he enjoys some support at the grassroots, especially among the youth. The former KNUST lecturer comes to the position as Deputy Chief of Staff, according to him, with organizational and mobilization skills. His choice was based on his hard work and sense of principles. He is also said to be straightforward and frank, although not much has been heard of him. He was, until his appointment, a Deputy Water Resources, Works and Housing Minister. Meanwhile, Deputy Chief of Staff Valerie Sawyer remains at post and is likely to remain there together with a new deputy. In other upcoming appointment, the choice of Executive Secretary to the President to replace Dr. Raymond Atuguba is likely to be announced on Tuesday. The new appointee is said to be coming on board with foreign service experience, having represented the country in Spain. It is unclear whether a new communications director will be appointed and when that will be done, following the exit of Ben Duchemalo, who has since returned to the United Nations. Julius Deborah, the incoming Chief of Staff.
Meanwhile, the governing National Democratic Congress has confirmed that one of the president's latest appointees, his new chief of staff, Julius Debra, was chosen for his grassroots political support and ability to galvanize the rank and file to prosecute the president's agenda. National organizer of the NDC, Kofi Adams, tells Joy News Julius Debra's relationship with the core of the party was a major reason for his selection.
Julius is one person who has served as party executive at the Eastern region. He was a regional chairman. He has been a candidate for elections in the Suhum constituency. He has served as regional minister for Eastern region for a short while. He came down to Greater Accra region, served also for a short time, and was elevated to local government minister. He has introduced quite a number of initiatives at that ministry, including even the cleanup campaigns that he launched, which is involving civil society, communities, chiefs, religious leadership, security agencies, and everybody and students to get on board on this cleanup exercise. I believe he comes in with this grassroots experience into the chief of staff position and should be able to coordinate his colleagues that he has worked with and carry on.
Kofi Adams adds that, contrary to the perception that Julius Debra's personality will make his job difficult, he is much respected within the party.
I don't think for once that we are going to sit here and just fold our arms and think that Honorable Julius Debra should come and take over our work of engaging the people to do. No. He has the work that he's supposed to do as just chief of staff. And I don't think we are going to sit down idle and allow pressure to be brought to all kinds of pressure on the current chief of staff. We have to help him to succeed. I don't think that President Mahama and NDC, for that matter, do appointments because of elections. We do appointments because we feel there is job to be done and this is the right and best material for the job, and that we want to move this country forward. Whether elections or no elections, President Mahama has always gone for the best for that particular.
Right, up next we bring you business with Abigail Adumakwentri.
Time now for some business reports with me, Abigail Adumakwentri. Now, the Ghana franchise of American fast food outlet KFC has run into some trouble with the Ghana Tourism Authority regarding the payment of the tourism levy. A task force from the Tourism Authority during a monitoring and enforcement tour discovered that the franchise has not paid the levy for 2 years. The 1% charge on hospitality services is meant to go into the Tourism Development Fund, but board chairman of the authority says that most hotels and hospitality firms regrettably are not paying. Officials of the Ghana Tourism Authority embarked on a nationwide monitoring and enforcement of the Tourism Development Levy, which was passed into law in 2012. The 1% charge on hospitality services, such as hotel accommodation and restaurant bills, is expected to accumulate into the Tourism Development Fund. KFC is yet to make any payment after it received the levy certification in 2013, but the manager of the Osu outlet, Samuel Sosu, says it was not deliberate.
I didn't know anything about it. We call it negligence, like as he said. If it is a levy we are supposed to charge the customers to make the payment, why would we neglect taking it from the customers to pay? Because we are paying VAT. Same way from the contributions we make the payments. So if we are supposed to charge a levy to make the payment, why not?
Best Western Premier was also found to have defaulted. Unlike the others, Movenpick Hotel was found to have been up to date with its payments of the levy and at 1.3 million cedis since 2013 was the highest paying entity. Almost 340,000 cedis had also been paid by local fast food chain Papaye. Board chairman of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Akunudake, says hospitality outfits which do not comply will be severely sanctioned.
We are embarking on this exercise to look at the operations of some of the entities. This is in prelude to a nationwide monitoring exercise that is starting this week across the country to ensure that different organizations and tourism institutions are compliant in respect of the tourism levy 2185. All the organizations have all received letters on the payment of the levy. We've also undertaken some publicity on this exercise and the payment of it.
The Tourism Development Fund is expected to provide the resources for the authority to market and promote the activities and services of players in the tourism industry in Ghana. KFC and Best Western Premier Hotel have been given a week to settle their arrears. Now, plans to start reducing prices of petroleum products from the end of this month may not be realized. That is due to signals picked up by Joy Business from the National Petroleum Authority. The regulator earlier this year announced that prices at the pumps will start going down in line with developments on the world market from February ending. Prices of crude oil on the world market just over the past weeks have gone up by some 13%, from $46 to about $52 a barrel as at last Friday, according to the National Petroleum Authority. Now, the sudden increase in prices on the world market might affect efforts to start reducing prices substantially from end of February. Regulators of the petroleum sector say they have managed to use the windfall from the crude price to pay 412 million Ghana cedis of its 4 billion debt to the bulk oil distributors. So if the sudden trend in marginal increase in prices in crude should continue, then the MPA might in the coming months rather start increasing prices rather than reducing them. And businesses reeling under the power crisis could in the coming months enjoy some respite as government has reached a deal with a Dubai-based company, APR, to bring in 10 emergency power generators. The deal was said to have been closed around last week in Dubai. Sources say that 10 emergency power generators, which is expected to come in April, will have the combined capacity to produce 250 megawatts of power. The generators, which will be installed at Abuaze, will be powered by gas from the Etwabo Gas Company. Government will soon be turning to Parliament for the whole deal to be approved before the generators can come in. The emergency power generators is expected to complement another 450 megawatts from 2 power ships expected from Turkey, possibly in April from power firm Kak Power. According to persons close to the agreement, the initial challenge of raising funds for the deal has been addressed following a $100 million guarantee extended by GNPC to Turkish firm to bring in badge, as well as a letter of guarantee provided by the Ministry of Finance. This should mean that the Turkish firm can take on government or fall on the guarantee provided by GNPC if there is any breach in agreement in terms of payment for the parcel to Ghana. The Turkish firm is expected to bring another power ship. However, power ship before June, according to managers of the power sector. These emergency power generators should help stabilize the current crisis marginally within the next 4 months. Now to some other stories. Small businesses are finding it difficult to secure insurance packages due to the costs involved. An SME Penny, for instance, says it has become more difficult as the cost of doing business has shot up with the power crisis. Penny spends 2,000 cedis a day for fueling the plant for production, while it needs 1,000 cedis to secure an insurance package for a month. Over 90% of Ghanaians are into the SME sector, contributing immensely to the country's GDP. But the challenges of the sector are many. Apart from the difficulties in accessing the needed credit for their businesses, securing a suitable insurance package is equally a challenge. Penny, a local cosmetic manufacturing business, is one of such small businesses unable to secure insurance because it says it is expensive.
We're still in the process of finding an affordable one. It's been on the discussion for the whole of last year. But again, finding a budget to meet, an average of about 1,000, to 2,000 cedis, monthly, it's quite a bit much for a small company that's gradually trying to grow and expand. Again, we do realize in this situation, it's very key, as the power fluctuations, energy surges. We do need that protection again against fire. So it is very important. Yes, it's eminent, and we are working on it, but it's not been easy. They do have packages, but I don't think it's tailored for very small, companies like us.
The energy situation, they say, complicates their efforts to get insurance.
Because, the fuel prices are not going down. And again, if there's no power and, again, diesel was affordable, we feel we could probably run our generators much cheaper. And again, get more products out, and again, save some more money. It's all about savings, so you can pass on the savings to
So can you tell in a day how much you have to buy for fuel to even power your plant when there's no light?
Wow. For a 40 kVA, we're doing about 2,000 cedis if you have to work 24 hours. So again, we probably have
That's for a day?
A day, yes, ma'am.
Wow, and you'd need 1,000 of that to get an insurance package for a month.
So again, that's why we term that as disposable income. Because again, you don't want to build clientele and don't have products on the shelf. So you have to prioritize.
Insurance penetration is currently below 2%, and the SME sector offers an opportunity for penetration to be deepened. But insurance companies maintain the needed systems must be in place.
The problem in Ghana is that we lack systems. So insurance is law. There should be A, B, C, D in place for insurance to be effective. Sometimes if they are not there, it becomes a difficulty. For instance, the market fires that occurred recently. You realize that most of them don't have insurance because we have what we call moral hazards and physical hazards. People throw rubbish around anyhow, there are cardboards and stuff like that. Somebody will be smoking, throw a cigarette into those things and it will create fire. And there's poor wiring, for instance. All those things are physical hazards. When they exist, insurers are not interested. So those are some of the reasons why it is quite difficult for insurers to insure those ones. You realize that most multinational businesses, the Nestle's, the Cadbury's, Newmont, all those companies are always buying insurance. Why? Because they know of the essence. But the other smaller companies in Ghana, even though sometimes some insurance companies may approach them, they might not. They don't see the relevance of insurance until something very bad happens.
Active International Insurance, however, says it is on its part supporting SMEs to get insurance packages worth 1 million Ghana cedis. For smaller businesses, there is a need for more education on the microinsurance packages insurance companies have to offer them. Abigail Adomakunchi for Joy News. And on that note, we end the business news. Coming up next is sports with George Adi Jr.
Time for some sports, and we'll begin here in the country. And Hartsville began their CAF Confederations Cup campaign with an unconvincing 1-0 win over AS Police from Benin at their Crossport Stadium yesterday. The Phobians were wasteful and only managed to score in the 46th minute when striker Salasia J headed in a corner kick, which was floated in by Owusu Bempa. Hearts coach Herbert Ado bemoaned his side's lack of killer instincts, but is hopeful they can qualify.
To control in 2 weeks' time, I will assure AS Police that we're going to come with a different team, different attitude, and different approach. So I think it will be a very good game. And one thing I hate in my life is losing. And to me, this is a loss. So I have to win in Cotonou. So we will come in 2 weeks' time. But in football, anything can happen. So what I will say is that we are going to work very hard for the return match at Cotonou. And I hope we have very good officiating like we did today, and a very fair playing field. And I think it's going to be a very good game in Cotonou because I've seen Police, they're not a bad team.
Right, certainly, Accra Hartsville in some bit of trouble, but Kumasi Asante Kotoko as well, because they've asked Coach Dramani to proceed on leave now. That means that he's very, very close to the sacking. They've tried to deny this, but officially they have come to say that he's been asked to go on a 4-month leave. We'll find out what happens with Asante Kotoko, still with our big clubs in the country. And head coach of Accra Great Olympics, Kasim Mingle, has attributed his team's abysmal form in the first Capital Plus Premier League to bickering within the club's management. The former Ghana champions are currently rock bottom of the Premier League log, amassing a paltry 6 points from a possible 21. Coach Mingle, who took over the reins after talks with Coach David Duncan broke down, explains to Joy Sports their progress has been hampered by disquiet within management.
And before the commencement of the league, we have some misunderstanding between the management, and it rocked the boat a little bit. So, as of now, I think we are trying to smoke a peace pipe, and we go to matches. No, we play better than our opponents, but at the end of the day, petty mistakes come from some of the inexperience of some of our players. Then causes. So we are trying to sack them up. No, they come from Division 1 and now coming to the Premiership. So at times it happens like that. For the first 7 or 8 matches, some of them will be panicking and others. But as they settle in, we will start winning.
Well, however, Mingle is looking forward to bolstering his squad with a number of high-profile stars, including Richard Olele Kinsing, Daniel Quay, Osei Boateng and Godwin Atram.
Experienced players, the defense, who can control the boys. They've been losing concentration. But when you have an experienced player there, whenever the boy will tell you, I'll let you, tell you do this, move to this side, anytime he can help. And you have an experienced goalkeeper too in the pool, he will be controlling the defense. So there will not be lapses there where they can just lose concentration and concede cheap goals. It can help us. Time when their condition level improves, the experience is already there, so it can help us. You see a better football from them. See, everybody knows they are stars, all right. But we have to assess their condition level before we can say anything. But we need them, and when they come, they will help us. We need some people who command the team, a leader on the field. So when we have them, we assess them, and their condition level improve. I think it can help us to go far.
All right, so that's going to be interesting to see Olele Kinsing back in the Ghana Premier League. We just can't wait for that. Godwin Atram, the likes of Daniel Quay, also getting into this. This is a sweet story, emotional definitely, and we're talking about athletics. And against overwhelming odds, a female runner from Kenya came third at the 2015 Austin Marathon and Half Marathon Sunday by crawling on her hands and knees across the finish line. Haven Nikchich was leading the pack of top female runners at the 23-mile mark, but with victory in sight, she started to fade. By the time the finish line came into view, her body began to shut down, but the determined runner was not ready to give up.
Play of Yvonne Getich in the Austin Marathon on Sunday. The Kenyan led the event in Texas for all but the last few kilometers when her body reached its limit, and 50 yards from the finish, her race looked over. But showing true grit, the 29-year-old started an agonizing crawl to the finish line. If officials had helped her, she would have been disqualified. She eventually crossed the line in third place into huge cheers, and race organisers paid Getich the prize money for finishing second, the position she had held before her collapse. For the record, a fellow Kenyan, Cynthia Jerop, won the race, but people are going to be remembering Yvonne Getich instead.
Amazing, and you always want to see things like this, but it's not amazing for Manchester United. They're losing by 1-0 to Preston North End in the FA Cup. Looks like they're heading out of it. That'll be all for sports tonight. I'm George Addy Jr. Israel will join us with some more. Have a good night.
Our Youth and Sports Minister Mama Yarega is in the news again. In a follow-up to his useless questions bust up last week, the minister has indicated that Ghana is attracting a lot of foreigners who have come to appreciate the paradise that the country is. Well, you may not agree, but we hit the streets to find out what Ghanaians think.
The Minister for Youth and Sports, Mahama Yariga, is quoted to have stated, "Just tune into radio stations every morning. You will think Ghana has stopped functioning. Every morning, killing the spirit of the people, killing the confidence of the people, creating an atmosphere of despondency, creating an atmosphere of hopelessness. Yet, when you step out of the shores of Ghana and step into the other countries, they think Ghana is a paradise because they come here and they see the difference between Ghana and their countries." Well, it appears what he said is not too far-fetched, as many foreigners are now kicking it in Ghana. After all, New York Times voted Ghana as the 4th among 46 countries to visit. Also, in 2006, Ghana was voted as the 10th happiest place on earth. Ghana is the land of gold and cocoa. But just wait, we spoke some foreigners who want to run away from paradise.
I didn't see it as a paradise, because a paradise is a place where there is no problem, where there is joy and harmony. This place we as a foreigner here, I'm facing so many challenges.
Ghana is not paradise. Like the way things are right now, we are suffering. We the students, we are finding things difficult. The food stuff, transportation, things are really bad here in Ghana. And for the lights, we need lights. Ghana is not like before. We need light to study. We can't describe Ghana as paradise because paradise is supposed to be light. This transportation, life will be easy, but things are really hard here.
What are Ghanaian folks saying?
No, Ghana is not a paradise country. Even though people come in, go out, does not mean Ghana is paradise. We are facing a whole lot of problems in the country. For example, this Dumso issue.
I don't think Ghana is paradise. We don't face problems, but I really don't agree with Mahama Yariga.
Well, is Ghana El Paradiso or not? The Minister for Youth and...
All right, so you may disagree whether Ghana is paradise or not, but the others who, there's no doubt about the fact that there are people who are coming from outside Ghana and they're coming to Ghana. For instance, there was an all-expense paid trip package to Dubai, Tanzania and Ghana for some Nigerian couples. And so, well, you may think that Ghana is not paradise, but there are those who actually think that Ghana is paradise. That's it for the bulletin. Before we go a quick run through our top stories. Julius Deborah in Prosper Bani out as Chief of Staff in check-up at the Flagstaff House. Political pundits say suggests a reconstitution of the president's closest advisors to appease ruling party stalwarts ahead of the 2016 election. 1,181 JHS school leavers get another chance to make their way back onto the academic ladder with another shot at the basic education certificate exams as private candidates. Administration apologizes for assault on multimedia journalists for filming scuffle between uniformed police officers and truck driver. Fire destroys a section of drug information unit at the main Kolebu pharmacy, and Ghana franchise of American fast food chain KFC and others in trouble with tax authorities over their failure to pay tourism levy. That's it for the bulletin. My name is Israel. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good evening.
This is Joy News Prime.